You know what? Thank you. I'm proud to call myself a voice actor, but most of the work on Red Dead, and indeed most video games these days, isn't just voice acting. There's other mediums involved now too, and there's other disciplines too, and it's fascinating to see the way performance capture is developing. Like the 5 years that I worked on Red Dead, to see the technology advance in front of our very eyes, it was really, really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably more involved than the movie industry, right?
You know, I haven't done much features, so I couldn't tell you, but I have done a few shorts, and you know what? It's not that dissimilar. You know, you learn your script, and you know, the only difference is you're not in costume, and you don't have a realistic set. The set is dimensionally accurate, but it's all just pipes and, you know, and scaffolding. So that's where the animators come in, and they're really helpful because they can show you the environment that you're actually working in. There's a great documentary that just came out from Santa Monica that goes into detail about it a little bit. We're called The Making of God of War. Raising Kratos, I think it's called. And that's really interesting. If you want to know more about performance capture, you see a lot of it in that.
Cool, thank you.
So what made you take an interest in acting?
Oh man, wow! I guess I got bit by that bug as a child. You know, I didn't want to, but you know, it's something I got pushed into at 5, 6 years old, and you know, it was something that I always had a passion and a love for, but I never really had the bravery to try and do it as a career until I probably finished my freshman or sophomore year at college, and that's when I changed majors. But yeah, the whole thing of working in theater is where I started out, and that's where a lot of my passion still lies, because you get no filter between your audience, you know, and you realize what works and what doesn't in real time, and which is a great teacher for other forms of acting too, whether it be on film or performance capture with the tight suits and the balls on and everything. So yeah, I've always had it. Yeah.
Who would you say has had the biggest impact on your career?
Oh, wow. You mean influentially?
Either influentially or somebody who's just been a source of encouragement.
Well, Rockstar Games sure gave me a huge opportunity. You know, not a lot of people knew who I was before October, but there have been a lot of influences on my career. I like the old greats from the mid-20th century, you know, and particularly with Arthur Morgan. I studied Toshiro Mifune a lot, who was one of the preferred actors of Akira Kurosawa, beg your pardon, and who was the star of Yojimbo and Sanjuro, which were later to become the influences of Fistful of Dollars and For a Few Dollars More. So that guy just hypnotized me, Toshiro Mifune. He is such an amazing screen presence. So I definitely took a few pages from his book, especially when I was working on Arthur.
The interesting thing about Red Dead Redemption 2 to me is not just that it's been extremely popular, but I've seen a lot of press, like from National Public Radio, saying that this game, if not the first, is one of the first games that will transcend its own medium and will be considered art. So what is it like thinking about your place in that?
Well, I mean, if that is true, it's indeed an honor. I do think that as gamers age, you know, I grew up on Pac-Man and I remember Pong. The audience is definitely maturing, and as the audience matures, so does, I think, the content that they buy, whether it be film, TV, or multimedia and video games. So I'm very proud to be a part of something that has what I would like to think is a reasonably mature storyline, one that appeals to not just kids but adults as well. You know, a lot of the themes and a lot of the moral implications of Red Dead, I think, are very mature, and yeah, just I was very proud to be a part of that, and not just with Rockstar Games, but there's lots of other studios as well that are bringing the industry forward to a very interesting place where, you know, storytelling and interactive storytelling is evolving in front of our very eyes, you know, and there's plenty of room for single-player story modes, and I think equally there's plenty of room for all the online stuff as well. And the medium itself has the potential to entertain everyone.
When you found out you got the role, from Rockstar? Did they suggest, or were there any Western movies that you were like, I have to watch this in order to prepare myself for this role?
Yeah, well, I was always a huge fan of Westerns, but I did ask that question. I think it's like about they asked me to show up for the audition in boots and to do a Midwestern accent. And I didn't know which studio it was at first, but funnily enough, had just finished playing the previous Red Dead Redemption, and I loved it. And my wife loved it too. It's one of the few games that she didn't mind watching because it's got beautiful scenery and the horses and whatnot. And so I did ask our director, Rod Edge, that question. And he told me to check out The Proposition, which is set in the Australian outback, but for all intents and purposes, it's totally a Western, in its theme and whatnot. And that deals with Guy Pearce's character having to come to terms with the loyalty that he holds to his brother, and then being forced to, or being confronted with the fact that he might have to betray that trust, which is a theme that I think is pretty heavy and mainly featured in Red Dead as well. I've always been a big fan of the spaghetti westerns, John Ford stuff from earlier on, and you know that the Hauser brothers and all the other writers have a huge respect for the Western genre because of all those little Easter eggs that you see. These little references where you recognize a certain camera shot from another Western. And like, for example, the first one that pops into my mind, and I hope this doesn't spoil it, but one of the first train robbing missions that you do is taken almost shot for shot from the assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford. And they do it so well, and if you hadn't seen that movie, you would miss it. You would just think, oh, that's really coolly shot. But no, the respect that Rockstar Games has for the Western genre, it's such a joy and a privilege to be in that sort of environment where we're taking that genre from film and hopefully successfully transferring it to interactive entertainment with respect to what's been done in the films. Yeah.
Are there any live action movie representation of the games going to be in play at some point?
I have no idea. With Rockstar Games, I have absolutely no idea. But I have read recently that Sony are thinking of doing something with some of their respective studios, and that would be pretty cool. So, some Naughty Dog movies, that would be awesome. It's hard though at the same time, for example, going back to Red Dead, which is at least 60 plus hours of gameplay, I think it's a huge challenge to translate that much time, what is equivalent to what would be probably 5 or 6 seasons of a TV show, and then to successfully transfer that to a 2.5 hour movie. It's a challenge that I would be, that's not easy. That's not easily done.
Something that you're passionate about outside of performing?
God, it is my life. It really is. But I would say my family. Yeah.
Are there any games you're excited about playing in the next year or two, personally?
Last of Us 2. I still haven't done the Final Fantasy VII remake. I'd like to check that out. I still haven't done the Resident Evil 2 remake. That looks really interesting. I want to be a block of tofu again. And the Vampire the Masquerade one and Cyberpunk, really interesting. Don't know when that'll be, maybe in the next couple of years. But yeah, those ones there I'm really, really interested in. Although I spent all my brownie points playing Red Dead back in the end of last year, so my wife, I think I'll have to earn some more before I can lock myself away with the PS4 again.
So with all that, would you consider yourself a big gamer then?
I used to be a huge one, and then when I graduated college, I just lost the time to do it. But then when I started working again on it, I stopped being a gamer, and then I became what you call a researcher.
Right.
At least that's what I kept telling my wife. So, but it was really valuable though, because I would be in the volume doing the performance capture, and the animators were just as hands-on with the actors as the directors were, because they knew what they needed in order to blend cutscenes into gameplay, etc. And so playing video games actually really helped me to better understand the requirements of the animators, so that, in the end, our professional relationship just got better, and then the communication didn't take as long. So it was genuinely a huge benefit. I was playing a lot of GTA 5 when I was doing Red Dead, The Last of Us, and a lot of GTA 5 online as well. And also just watching how certain scenes would come, the beginning and ends of them, and then of course now with so many interactive cutscenes now becoming a thing, learning how that worked too, and the animators helped me a great deal with that.
Is there? I understand that you live in the U.S. now, but were raised in Ireland. Is there anything in particular that you miss about Ireland?
Oh yeah, sure. I haven't been in so long, but hopefully we will remedy that soon. But I miss my friends, I miss my family, I miss the sense of humor. There are things about both cultures that I absolutely love. And of course I trained in the UK as well, and lived in Cardiff and London for better part of a decade. So there's little nuances that each culture has that you kind of learn to love. But yeah, I miss the sense of humor, I miss the crack, but hopefully that shouldn't be for much too longer.
What keeps you motivated?
What keeps me motivated? I like being able to entertain. I like my audience to enjoy what I do. I like creating art, and I also like providing for my family and making sure that my boys are okay and they're doing okay in school, and that I get to have spent as much time with them as possible. So I would say my main motivations are artistic and professional fulfillment.
I got a tough question about the industry. If you want to beg off, that's totally cool. All right, are you SAG?
Yes.
All right. Do you have any thoughts or considerations on the current state of the industry in regards to the developers and their unionizing and things like that?
Oh yeah, I hear that there's talk of a lot of the developers unionizing. I'm a very proud member of SAG-AFTRA, and I'm also a very appreciative working actor who wouldn't be where he is now if it wasn't for these game developers. But I certainly don't see any harm of unionization. Everybody is so talented and works so hard, and the industry itself is so competitive and has so many intelligent, talented people that it's just a necessary evolutionary thing, I think, because this industry is just getting bigger and bigger. As everybody keeps hearing now, it makes more money than Hollywood. So whatever that can be done to achieve an environment which is sustainable and nurturing for everyone involved, I think is a win-win.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
What's the first video game you fell in love with?
Oh my gosh, this is gonna be funny because it's apparently one of the worst video games ever made, but I was too young to know the difference. It was E.T. on the Atari, because I loved the movie. And then I thought, okay, I guess this is what a video game is. But then I just didn't know how to complete it. And I don't think it's because, I think it's because you can't, right? I spent ages looking for a phone, and then I found the phone, and then I was looking for a key, and then that was it. And I thought, oh, I must be doing something wrong. And then decades later, that documentary about it came out where they're filling landfill holes with the thing. But I loved it.
So the gaming industry has had a couple of problems lately. Like Kotaku put out a few articles about crunch culture. I think they talked about Epic. They talked about a few other big ones. Anthem was their big article.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with some problems in the industry about that? Have you had to deal with that at all?
I genuinely haven't. And one of the reasons why is because I'm protected by my union.
Yep.
Our call sheet, we have a certain amount of hours in the day, but I can say, hand on my heart, that all of my old colleagues from Rockstar Games, they were so passionate and so committed to their work that I didn't see any burnt out issues at Rockstar Games. I genuinely haven't. Everyone was there, and they were happy to be there, and they loved what they did, and they worked hard, but they were proud of what they did, and so they should be, I think.
Have you cosplayed as any of your characters that you voice?
No, no, I haven't. There's some of them are too good, man. There's no way I could compare. I did a great one with Cloudy McDoom yesterday. Yeah, check out the Instagram and YouTube if you want to see the video.
Hey fanboys, hey fangirls. If you enjoyed the video and you want to see more, click that subscribe button and don't forget to ring the bell. Follow us on social media. You can reach me at Carnell Holly on Twitter, at MadDragon2000 on Instagram, and we're on iTunes. Check out our podcast called Writer's Roulette. Give it a listen, leave a review. But until then, you know where to find us.